All right, welcome back to Think Differently. We skipped last month, or I very on purpose skipped last month. I was on vacation and I just could not fit everything in. So I'm very happy to be back with you guys. And if you have, as always, if you have questions you want me to answer here, that's like on a separate topic, or if you have a topic you'd like me to cover, please feel free. You can stick that in the chat. You can hit reply to the email that sends you the replay. You can hit reply basically to any of my emails that go out. That goes straight to my inbox and only I can see it. So feel free to send me any feedback. A lot of times these topics come from conversations I have with you all. So just know that you're paying it forward if you have a question. Um, so today is kind of a fun, I don't know, for me, it's fun. Hopefully you'll find it fun as well. I'm changing my pricing model. And so we're going to dive into all of that, but just a couple of quick things. For the people live, because you're joining me live, you get an opportunity to enter to win a free mini coaching session. So if that's something that you would like, great. Just enter me in the chat. Just say enter me in the chat, and that way I will have that to go back and look at. And I'll enter your name. Your name is not only just entered for, I usually draw them once a month. It's not just entered for this month's drawing. It will just remain in the hat. So like literally last week I drew names from someone, and someone had put their name in the hat like 3 months ago. So you always have an opportunity to win, which I think is kind of fun. So that's how we're going to run those. And again, if you're live, just pop any questions in the chat as we go. I'm happy to make this a conversation and answer any questions you have, or even just comments or insights. So a couple things I want to actually start with, and I think I probably could have said this at any point in time over the last year plus, 2 years plus, but I just think today I am having a hard time moving on if I don't just say this, so bear with me. I have to acknowledge what's happening in the world. I have to acknowledge what's happening in Iran. I have to acknowledge what's happening with the immigrants in my home country, how they're being treated, how trans people are being treated, all of the stuff that's happening, not just in the United States, but in the world, and how it affects everyone. And, I don't have any wise words to say other than we're all in this together and it affects all of us. And so just because I'm having a day where I'm talking about something else doesn't mean that it's not also on my mind. So I know it's on your mind as well. So I just want to address the elephant in the room, the context that we're all living in. And also we're going to get down to business and do business, because what I find, not just this is a practical thing, but it's also a mindset thing. What I find is, yes, there's things that we can and should be doing, like calling our reps and boycotting and doing whatever acts of resistance for being the change that you want to be seen in the world. We all have our responsibilities and our choices around that. And for me, and hopefully for you, if you're in my world, you love what you do, you're here to make an impact on the world in a positive way. That's a big piece of your vision and your mission. And so if we are being the change that we want to see in the world, then that is also how we do our part to make the world a better place, whether things are good or bad, right? My mission hasn't changed in that sense. And so for me, that's helping small businesses, primarily women-owned businesses, to grow and scale. More money in the hands of more women doing good things. That's the ripple effect I'm looking to create, or I am creating, and I want to create, of course, more of that. And that for me is front and center every day. That has been healing for me to focus on that in my business. I'm so grateful to PastMe for starting a business built around what lights me up and what is how I want to serve, because on my shittiest day, I still just want to go to work. I still just want to do this. This is still just as important. Whereas when I was in corporate, I don't want to poo-poo my corporate career, but at the end of my corporate career, when I was ready to go, and the more misaligned that it felt for me at that time, I had outgrown it. I found myself on the crappiest days being like, none of this matters. I just can't bring myself to care because it doesn't matter. And fast forward, now we are in a much crazier situation and my work matters even more than ever. And so kudos to all of us who have made that decision and built a business around that, and let that be healing for you. Let that, I literally told a client that this morning, let this also be grounding for you. Take care of yourself and also let your work be grounding and healing for you, because that is the way forward. And so more money in the hands of more women is in very large part what we're talking about today. So I'm going to move to, it's still there, and I'm just going to focus and move to business. And hopefully that serves you just in seeing the duality of it all, and that we can all just, we can hold it. We can do it. We can do this. So what we're talking about today is why I'm changing my pricing model instead of just raising my rates. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about what that looks like, just so that you know what in the world I'm talking about. And then I have a lot of why. So today is, yes, we're using my business as an example. I'm sharing sort of why, not sort of, I'm sharing why I've made these decisions in my business. I've been very intentional. It's been something that's been on my mind for a while. This was not just something I like made up 5 minutes before I sent the email. And I want you to hear my thought process. I want you to see why this makes sense for my business and use it as a case study. So what I'm not here to say is please copy paste my pricing model. You're welcome to. But what I'm trying to offer you here, this is called Think Differently for a reason, is to help you think differently about your business. So please know that all of the things that we're talking about today is to help you go, okay, what is the takeaway here? And I'll be offering takeaways that you can take away for your own business, things that you can be thinking about so that you're thinking strategically about your business. Because it's not about, which pricing model or which strategy or which business model, they all work. It's just what makes sense for you, what makes sense for your business, and then aligning on top of that, what makes sense for you and your business right now. And so I'll be walking through why this makes sense for me and my business and why it makes sense for me now, so that you can be thinking about these things for your business. Okay. I'm going to just quickly say, let me just quickly tell you what we're covering today. So that if you're watching the replay, if you want to keep listening. And then the very first thing I'm going to do is jump into what is the new pricing model, just so we can level set on the practicalities. And then we'll talk about why, and how I'm thinking about scaling. We'll talk about that pretty much the rest of the time. So a couple things we're going to cover. The most important thing to address in 2026 if you want to grow and scale. And this is a big reason why I'm doing this, or why it's aligned, why I'm scaling with this model instead of just raising my rates again, which I could totally do, and have done in the past, and coach clients to raise their rates when it's appropriate, right? So why am I also just changing the model? Why this model fits my business perfectly. And as I said a minute ago, it fits me perfectly and it's good for me right now. And also why it might not be a good fit for you, right? Again, I'm not trying to sell you on this model. I'm just trying to help you think strategically about your business. And I just always think that business cases, I don't know, when I was in grad school, looking at a business case, looking at an example of a business was much more helpful than theoretically talking about business in general. So I'm trying to offer that up for you as well today. Details on how the revenue share model works. So I'm adopting a revenue share model, and the kinds of offers it's a good fit for and what it's not a good fit for. And then, as always, I can't talk about strategy without also talking about mindset. So the agreement that I made with myself when I made this decision, I also made an agreement with myself about how I'm going to manage my business finances as a result of this. And then what's the mindset that I'm adopting to support that decision. So we'll go through all those things today. All right, so first things first, let's just talk super practical. Perfect. Okay, enter me. Gotcha. Let's just talk super practical about what in the world I'm talking about. So currently, my pricing model, and I'm speaking, so I have a one-on-one business model. It's all one-on-one. I've done groups, I've done one-on-one for many years, but since 2021, so right about almost exactly 5 years that I've been 100% dedicated to one-on-one as my business model, which is a conversation for another day. Suffice it to say, this is what serves me best, and the best way that I can support my clients. So for the last 5 years, I have had basically a flat rate. You pay me this much per month, and then of course you get like a little discount if you pay in full when you work with me for 6 months. And that rate, that flat rate, has changed over the years, just like most people. I also have an intensive where you can work with me for 1 week, focused on one specific topic, and you get 1 week of email support and 2 sessions across that time frame to really work on one specific area of the business. It's called an intensive, like we're like intensely focused on that one thing. This does not affect the intensive. That is still going to be at a flat rate as it normally has been. But for my for my 6-month program, I'm going to change from a flat rate fee. You pay me X per month. Right now it's $14.50 a month, what my clients pay me. And I'm going to move to a revenue share model. So what that means is that $14.50 will actually remain the same. So clients that come in I'm still in the old model, by the way. I still have two spots left that I will fill in the old model. So if you like the flat rate and you want to work with me, now is a really good time to have the conversation, because as soon as those next 2 spots are filled, or by the end of the month, whichever comes first, then that's officially when I'm moving into the revenue share model. So once people come into the revenue share model, to begin, it starts basically the same. They're also going to pay me $14.50 a month. But rather than that being a flat fee, that's now going to be the base rate. So that's like the piece that we agree on every single month. That's the thing that doesn't change, right? So every month they pay me $14.50. And then there is a revenue share component. So in addition, every month they will pay me 10% of all new revenue generated during our work together. So anything they sell, I don't even want to say sell because it's cash related. Any cash they bring in, revenue they generate as a result of our working together, since we start the clock when we work together, 10% of that revenue comes to me in a revenue share. So it's not a profit sharing, it's a revenue sharing. I think that some people that sort of frame might be helpful. And it's 10%. So first off, let me know if that makes sense. If that doesn't make sense, let me know if you have any questions. A couple other sort of nuances to it. This is while we're working together, and it's reported on a monthly basis. So for example, if you have a launch and you're making a ton of money one month, and then the next month, because naturally you're making less money because you just had a launch, then that 10% is obviously going to be a much smaller number than it was the prior month, right? So does that make sense? So literally every single month it's variable. And if you don't bring any extra revenue in that month, which is also totally normal, then you would only just pay the base rate. This is while we're working together. And I think the other thing, it's funny, like people in the online space are like, wow, this is such like a novel idea. And then people in my corporate world are like, yeah, that sounds normal. That's a commission base. That's like, you have your base salary and you have like a bonus at the end of the year, or you have your base salary and you have a commission based on the sales that you make, or a pay per performance model. So if you've been in the corporate world and you probably have had that structure or seen other people have that structure, it's essentially that kind of idea, but just tailored to a business. The other thing that's really, really important for me to share while I'm talking about the practicalities is I did not make this up. I get no credit for this model. I have completely copied this model from someone else who has also given me and anyone else permission to use this model. So big shout out to Lacey Seitz of A Lit Up Life. She is a business coach as well. And gosh, I don't know when she came up with this. It must have been, I think, at least by 2020, maybe before that. I think I maybe found her in 2020. I've been following her for many years. And she essentially came up with this. It's called the partnership model. She has trademarked it. It's literally hers. And she came up with this, and this is very similar, I have a different base rate, but essentially I've basically copied this model. The other thing that's important for me to say here is, so full credit to Lacey for coming up with this brilliant idea. Many people have adopted it. I am now one of the others. And the other thing that's important to say here is my business coach, Kim Argetsinger, I've been working with her for many years, and I've been paying her under a revenue share model for 2 of those years, for the last 2 years. And so that feels really important to say too, because this is a tested model out in the world, but that seems also a little bit like not the number one reason. This serves my business, which we'll talk about in a minute, but also I know what it feels like to pay this as a client. And I think that's really important. That's also why I'm not testing it. I'm just doing it because I feel the way that how do I want to say this? I like the way it feels as a client to partner with my coach. And then when I win to give her some of that, that feels really good to me. That feels really aligned. And also it serves me on my lower months to know that this model works with me so that if I have a lower month, I'm not also paying up at that same rate that I was paying in a higher month. But mostly it just feels really good to give her extra money when I make extra money, right? That's basically what it comes down to when we do a great job together and the results come in. I get to share that with her. And as a solopreneur, I personally find that running my business by myself is incredibly empowering and incredibly fulfilling and brings me so much joy. And there is even for my hyper independent friends, like there is a level to which too much independence is too much independence, and it is my greatest strength, and it can also be my shadow. And so this is a really great way for me also to not feel all alone in my business. You literally have someone who's in it with me, and that just feels really, really good. And so I'm not changing how I operate with my clients. I've always had a partnership structure and approach to our work. This is really just upping that and taking it to the next level. And it's also a way to scale, right? It's just also a way to scale. So I'm going to talk about all those details, but I just wanted to say, so it's base rate plus 10% new revenue. So if you signed a client like 3 months before you start working with me and they officially start, during the time that we're working together, you signed them before, that doesn't count, right? Any work you did in advance, that's all before. And then once we start the clock together, I'll get into the details later. I don't think that's important, but just to give you that sense. So it's new revenue, 10% on top of a base rate. And the only other thing I think I need to say is the base rate is also, because I've played with like, do I want to decrease my base rate and increase the revenue percentage, right? And there's a couple things around that, but I think mostly I want to say the base rate covers my team, my ability to pay my team, my ability to my time, right? Because I'm putting in a lot of time and energy towards my clients every month. And so it feels important for me to be paid consistently for that. And then the variable is sort of the excess, right? How we grow together. So that's why it's a base rate plus the 10%. And that's also why I'm not raising my base rate. So my base rate is the same at the moment. Okay. Why now? What am I doing? Why is this something that you need to think about? Not this model, but why the why is going to support me in serving this. So a couple things here. When we're scaling, we are solving for a capacity issue, right? So I can only, in a one-on-one business model, I can only serve a certain number of clients at once. This is a topic for another day. I've talked a lot last year about how I was experimenting with my own time and schedule and really leaning into, can I support more people? Can I have more spots available? And what does that mean for the back end of my business so that I'm also still marketing and running my business effectively and not only serving clients, right? Because I want to be able to keep growing. And so playing with that percentage of time, how I lean into support with my team, giving them more to do, how I manage my marketing, all of that was things that I was working on last year to really expand my capacity and then to play with and experiment with how many people can I truly support at once if I'm the only one serving clients. And so that's a big piece of it. And there is a limit. I'm getting to my max. Right? There's only so many people I can serve. And so if I want my business to grow, there's only if I have several choices about what I want to do to scale. One is I could do a group, offer an additional offer, right? A one-to-many offer, a course, a mastermind, a group program. Right? I could open up a consultancy, right? And I could have more people served, but also more people serving, right? More coaches under my umbrella to serve more clients. That's another way that I could scale. Neither of those models feel good to me at this point in time. I have lots of clients in those models, and actually all of those models. And it's just a decision around alignment and what's right for you. And that's just not right for me at the moment. It's not what I want to do right now. I will never say never, but it doesn't serve me in 2026. And so with that, this is a really great opportunity to help me scale. I'm sorry, I have a hair that is itching me. There we go. It's a really great opportunity for me to be able to scale one-on-one. One-on-one, like when I started this business, everybody was like, you can't scale one-on-one, you're trading time for money, blah, 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 like all that dumb stuff that people say. And it's not true. And it also is a little bit true, right? Like it is a little bit true. Like if you are the only one providing services, there is only so much you can scale at that point. And so this is one way to do that while maintaining, for me, what I'm really good at is one-on-one. And so to add another offer that is not in my zone of genius, even if it's like one level down from my zone of genius, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not interesting enough to me to want to do it. It doesn't make sense for me right now. So we're solving for capacity. This is how my business is going to scale in 2026 past where it is right now. It's also, I also think it's an expansive model because there's no limit on what I could make. There is a limit on my time, but there isn't a limit on what I could make. And so I have lots of choices and flexibility around the kinds of clients I decide to work with, and how I want to do that. And so that feels really engaging and encouraging to me. The other reason why now is it's just time for me to raise my rates again. My clients are getting, last year was a really hard year. I would say 24 and 25, frankly, was a hard year for lots of people. The market has shifted and it takes time for us to figure out how to shift. And that has been a huge challenge. I also know lots of people that are thriving and doing really well. My business had its second best year ever last year. Things are working really, really well. And my clients are doing really, really well, even though it's been a hard couple of years. I've really upped my game. And I put, the other thing that I did last year that I don't think I talked about enough was I was putting more and more and more time and attention into my existing clients. Like I'm talking about adding coaching spots, right? And expanding my capacity and can I serve more people? Yes, that serves my business. But my clients needed more time and attention from me last year because it was a different market. And so I put my time and energy into that, and they are getting really great results, frankly, especially for the circumstances. And so it's just important, and I coach my clients to do this as well. It's just important that I own what I'm helping my clients do, and that my rates reflect the value of what I provide. And so that's really, really important also just to say, like, I've upped my game. I think all of us have upped our game. And if we're still in business, and I also think, I'm just a better coach than I was 12 months ago. So I'm raising my rates as a result of that. And I do really love this model. And so that's why I'm not actually raising my base rate. I'm just adding the revenue share. Okay. I want to say something else. I'm going to go out of order of the plan. Hold on. Yeah, I'm going to talk about this next, a little bit out of order what I plan, because I just feel like this is important. So in 2026, what did I say in my little bullet? Let me see. The most important thing that you need to address in 2026 if you want to grow and scale. There's a lot of things that you need to do, but I think one thing that is just in the water and has been for a couple of years now is a lack of trust. Not just with coaches, but with lots of people, world leaders included. And so there is, I've heard it called a trust recession, and I think that's just the easiest way to say that. I did a couple of lives on that last year. If you're interested in that, just let me know, and I'll send you the link, or you can when I send you the replay, you'll see the access to the blog where all the other ones are. But anyway, I'm happy to send you the exact lives about that topic. I don't want to go too much into that today. If that's a new concept for you, I think you'll find it very validating. Allow me to send you the link. But right, the guru mentality of like, this person's going to solve all my problems, that shit is out. We're not doing that anymore. I'm actually really glad that that's out, because that was sort of a mess to begin with. We've had people, gaslighting their clients, is, not actually delivering on what they had offered and what clients had paid for. And I also think in some ways, I want to be mindful of how I say this, because I really love my fellow coaches and the coaching industry. And I don't think all business coaches had the experience or the training to navigate changes in the market. And so when the market changed, they didn't know. And I actually have a master's degree in change, in organization development, and how organizations change. And that was a big piece of the work that I did in my corporate career when I was a consultant. And so that's literally my job, or was my job. And so that was not a hard thing. It was hard for all of us to adjust and to figure out what needed to change. But that ability to change and to help people change is something I've been doing for 30 years. And so that wasn't hard for me. That wasn't new. Let me just say it that way. That wasn't new for me. And I think it was a new skill that a lot of people that learned how to build a business and then started teaching how to build a business back in the day when things were really, really easy to do in the online space, pre-2020 and pre-2020, right? The record slipped, and like everything changed. And to their credit, I also think to give them really a lot of credit. Like, I also think sometimes it took people a while to figure out that the market was changing and that what used to work doesn't work anymore. And so I want to just honor that. And I am very intentional about how I do my work. I'm very intentional about my own accountability and what I can and can't do for a client. And so what I like about this model is that it helps me address the trust recession, because I'm essentially putting my money where my mouth is, right? I'm saying, I'm a really good business coach. Allow me to help you grow and scale your business. And also, if you don't make money, you don't pay me any extra. And if you do make money, you pay me extra and we win together, right? And so there's a trust piece there that I am intentionally putting out, where you could easily pay another coach $30,000 a year for business coaching. But I'm not asking you to pay me $30,000 a year until or unless your business supports that with the results that we get together, right? Does that make sense? I think it also helps people to see that I'm literally here to help. And I also think it generates a sense of safety. And I think this is what, again, we can talk about the trust recession till the cows come home, and there's lots of different ways to create trust with your audience and your content. I talked about that a lot last year. There's lots of different areas where we can create trust with our audience, with our clients. I think we have a responsibility now at a much deeper level as business owners to create that trust, not just because that's how you're going to create clients, but that's just what the industry is asking of us. And I personally think, like, why not? Let's rise to the occasion. And so one of the ways you can create safety one of the ways that you can address the trust recession is to create safety in your offers. So that could be demonstrating how people are getting what they paid for, right? Asking your clients, do you have another question? Are you satisfied? Do you have it? Making sure that you're checking in. And then for me, for many ways I'm doing that. But when it comes to this pricing model, that creates a sense of safety when I can explain to them, or I can sort of embody this partnership approach with them, right? Like, you pay me this, but you don't pay me anymore until or unless you get results. That creates a sense of safety. It also creates a sense of safety, something I didn't mention before. I have always done this. Once my clients work with me, when they're up for renewal, they are up for renewal at the rate that they signed up originally. So I do not surprise my clients with a price increase when they renew. also, please don't take this as this is how you have to do it. I've actually coached clients to do that, the opposite of that, to not do it my way, because it served their business and their business model, and or their prices were too low, whatever the reason. So not to say that this is what you have to do, but I think it's important. That's my business is really, I think I'm priced appropriately, first off. Secondly, my joy comes from long-term client relationships. My ability to help clients get results also comes from long-term relationships, right? Imagine like if you had a partner helping you in your business for 6 months, or if you had them helping you in your business for 2 years. Exponentially, I always say, like, I'm a much better coach for you every month that goes by. I'm a better coach for you because I know you better. I know your business model better. I know your mindset stuff. I know where you're going to get in your own way. I can say, like, hey, remember 2 years ago when you tried that idea and it didn't work? Why are we going down this road again, right? Or has something changed, right? But I remember things and I can help people in a deeper way the longer I work with them. And that is also the way that I like to work. Some of my clients, we actually build ways for them to hand things off and move clients in and out because they actually like the short term sort of project-based work. That's not how I do it. My work is, I get so much better results. My clients get so much better results the longer they work with me. Not to say that you have to take 2 years to turn out results, but the point being, that's a big how do I want to say this? My business is built around that. And I'm incentivizing people to work with me for a long time, right? That's it. Even the way that I set up you can take your intensive, my 1 week intensive, and roll it into a 6 month program. Like, I am incentivizing you to stick around. And so I'm doing that also with my pricing, because that's what serves me. That's what serves my clients in terms of getting good results. And then it's what serves my business in terms of having less churn, right? Because it's a lot cheaper to keep a client than it is to go out and get a new one, even at a higher rate, or cheaper to even keep a grandmothered client in at an old rate. So that piece I think is just really important also to share in terms of just the alignment. And so now I'm moving into, see, I did need to do this in the different order. So the trust is what we need. Addressing the trust. What you need in 2026 is to address the trust recession in your business. And again, there's lots of different parts of the business you can do that in. That's not for today. We're just talking about my pricing as an example of that. But again, how to do that is to insert safety into your processes. And one more side note, like, you can even do this in your onboarding process. The more we can demonstrate that we are who we seem to be, the more safety that creates. And so for me, this feels very aligned, and it feels like a good move for my business now because it's the way I do stuff anyway, which is what leads me to this alignment piece. So why is it aligned for me now? I have called for many years, I've called my 6-month program a coaching partnership. And my style is quite consultative. I'm both a coach and I'm a former consultant, but I'm also very much a coach, like a proper coach. And I will point out mindset stuff, but I am also a business strategist. And so, but the way that I approach my work with my clients is not, I know the best way. It is not, I know everything, let me tell you what to do. I very much give my opinion, and I very much tell people, especially like, hey, I've had 3 clients do this month. This is what worked. Let me just give you the answer. Like, I will give you the answer when I have it, especially when we're talking very, very practical details. And I will call you out, and I will not let you go down a road. I'm not the coach that only asks questions and like watches you go down a road that is not going to serve you. I am very, very direct and very honest. And I'm always doing that in your best interest. And if you want to go down a road and I say, I don't know that that's the best one, and we talk about it, and that's what you want to do, then I'm also 100% into that road. Does that make sense? That's my style. It's a partnership approach. We come together to figure out what you and your business need right now. I'm here to support the business owner. And your job is to run your business, right? I'm not running your business. And so that's why I've called it a partnership model. It's also why 10%, not more, for the revenue share model. There's only so much I mean, I think I'm a great coach, but like you are running your own business. So you are responsible for your own business. And we each have to put in our 100% effort. But it doesn't make sense to me that I could influence someone's revenue more than 10% because they have to deliver, they have to be good at what they do. They have to go, I can't sell for them, right? I can't go deliver work to their clients. I'm not in their zone of genius, right? I'm not doing all those things. I'm not doing stuff for them. I'm reviewing stuff, right? I'm offering my perspective. I'm helping them make really good decisions, but they are executing. And so that's why I think it's really beautiful to come together and also to share in the wins. And so it's just, again, it's just aligned in the ways that I already am operating. And then I think I've already said this, but I want to just say it again. I think what this model offers is it's an I'm in it with you, like I'm putting my money where my mouth is. You know, I can say I'm in it with you, but then my pricing model literally reflects that I'm in it with you. And that's just how I do stuff. That's just how I do business. That's how I work with my clients. But it also serves you not just in the wins, it serves you in the ebb and flow. Business is like people want to tell you that business is like always going up, and that is just not true. And I it's just not true. I could go off on a tangent or a rant here, but I'm not gonna do that. It's just not true. And I don't mean to say that it needs to look like, you know, the stock market on an hourly basis necessarily when you see those lines. But business often has, when we're running our business well, it often has just like the stock market, if you long-term invest in the stock market, it has a forward progression, right? Trajectory moves up. And that does not mean that every month is better than the last, or it doesn't mean that if you've had like consistent 10K months for 6 months and then you have a 2K month that something's wrong. Depends on your business model, depends on what's going on. And nobody in any business other than the online space tracks their monthly income. No business, no large business goes, well, this month we had, but they do it by the quarter and by the year. And I think that's just really, really important to remember that like we have to look at things more big picture. And so with that, this business model, this pricing model also, I'm in it with you when things are low or just lower or normal, right? So when you have a hot pot month, we're in it together. When you have a vacation month, we're in it together and everything in between. I have a client who will be grandfathered in because she's been a client now for more than a year, but she's on maternity leave right now, right? This would also serve her in not paying any extra while she's not, we're paused while she's on maternity leave. Maybe that's a bad example, but when she comes back, she's probably going to come back at a slower pace and not work full time. So if she had been in the revenue share model, she would be paying my base rate plus whatever it is that she's able to generate new income, right? That's it. And so it ebbs and flows with you. And that just feels also really important to create that safety and create that trust because this is realistic. I'm always trying to give you the real story behind the business, not the like pretty shiny bullshit. Running a business is hard. It doesn't have to be that hard, but it had, you know, there are ebbs and flows to it. And so this model needs to, I just like it because it ebbs and flows with you. So when you have a low season, a slow season, or you're on maternity leave, or you're taking more time off for your family, or what have you, it meets you where you are. It also meets you where you are if you're a new business owner and you're only making, like, let's say as you go, you're only making a little bit more every month, then that it sort of serves with you. So I've never been a fan of sliding scale, except for certain businesses. Like I know therapists can do a pretty good job with sliding scales. I think there's some exceptions. But it's always felt I like it because it creates affordability, but it also feels a little disempowering. And I find that sometimes it's us getting a little involved in people's finances in a way that doesn't feel quite right for just us as business owners. Like, do I need to know how much you make in order to know how much to charge you? That just feels weird to me. That's never felt right. And so what I like about this is it's kind of like an empowering sliding scale, right? So as you grow, we grow together and you pay me more as your business can support that. So it also enables me as a business owner to continue, because I already work with people at a variety of levels of business, right? I work with fewer brand new business owners, but oftentimes I'll pick people up after 1 to 2 years, all the way to 10 years, right? So sometimes people are working on just getting to that 100K mark, US dollars, or clients are going from 6 figures to multi 6 figures, or working on going from multi 6 figures to 1 million or more. I've had clients in the consultancy model that are making more than $1 million a year. And so that's a pretty big spread. And I really like that variety. So this enables me to not have to have a sliding scale, but to kind of have an empowering sliding scale. And so it really meets you where you are. And that's another piece that really serves me, because I like that variety of the different kinds of businesses. And so this keeps me from having to pick or to overprice myself and price myself out of something that like a newer or a less than $100,000 client would be doing, or to underprice myself and then not be able and really not be charging enough for my clients that are really frankly doing more. And then I find that also, how do I want to say this? I do think as you grow and as your business grows, there is more influence that I can have on it, and it is a deeper, more influential result that I can help you create as the business is. So, in other words, I think I should get paid more for serving larger businesses, not just because you make more. Does that make sense? Like, I think it really does ask me to bring something different to the table, in a way that is different than like helping someone who is earlier on in business. And then the other thing it does, I really love to serve people with when they are going through some sort of change. So I love a good pivot. I've helped a lot of people navigate pivots, changing just how they deliver things, like after a maternity leave, for example, or after life changes. And so I really like it for that reason, because it allows that ebb and flow as well. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm just going to check my notes here. Equitable and realistic are the two words that I think I like about that one. Let me just see if I have where I want to go next. We've got about 10 more minutes. Yeah, the other thing I like about this model is, people always talk about how making an investment in something, right? And this is a high ticket program. Making an investment in any high ticket program, or even like moderate, medium ticket program, or offering or service, it asks a client to put skin in the game, right? Like that's kind of how it works. Like I pay you money, you give me a service, sort of thing. What I like about this model is it asks a client to put skin in the game, just like it always does, just like any investment. But I think as a client, I like it because I like that my skin is in the game for what I want to accomplish. So it's like very results driven in my brain. It's very aligned to the results that I want. So I want to grow my business, and I'm willing to invest in this business coaching relationship. I'm willing to invest in this as a business expense every single month to get the support that I want to grow this business and to create more financial results. And I'm willing to pay when I win, right? Like I'm willing to pay a piece of that as a thank you, pay a piece of that as a we did this together. And that enables me to put more skin in the game and in the way that I'm intended. Does that make sense? Versus it's just more empowered, I think, than, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing with my business. Can you please help? Right? No judgment if you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? I would actually love to help you. This is not that. But I think the investment that we make and the way that we make an investment, right? I always feel like the way that we take our actions matters a lot. That's why I do a lot of mindset coaching. Because if you're just looking for an answer, you're going to be very, very disappointed. Yes, I have answers, and also you have to do the work. Sorry, not sorry, right? It's all of the above. And so this just sort of creates a space, or is a reflection of the work that we both bring to the table. which I like. Okay. Let me see what else I needed to say here. Talked about that. Okay. All right. So let's go back. So the most important thing that you need to address in 2026 if you want to grow and scale, address the trust recession in as many places as you can in your business. Why I'm scaling with this model instead of just raising my rates again, I feel like I pretty much covered that. It's really that it's time to raise my rates and that this model is a scalable model. And I am scaling. I am at a point where I'm about maxed out of my capacity in terms of adding more coaching spots, right? Versus like refilling those coaching spots. In terms of adding more coaching spots, how many clients I work with at a time, there is only so much more of that I can do. And so, yes, raising my rates, but also since I grandfather my clients in, right? Like I think this is the other thing I need to say. This is not a short-term play. This is not a short-term play. And I want people to see this because this is another thing that you can take away for running your business. I think that so often, yes, there are moments when we need a cash injection. There are moments where we can just add a little something and make more money. And I am all about that when it serves. But I think so often we get into these quick, looking for short-term money-making strategies, and then that becomes your pattern for years. And that does not a sustainable business make, right? I'm into you running a business that's healthy for you in the business, it's profitable, and it's sustainable, and it's fulfilling. And so running in little circles over time, creating new offers all the time, right? Updating new strategies just to get a quick hit is actually the opposite of sustainability. And you will wear yourself out. You will wear yourself out. I've burned out at least 4 times in corporate, and I know it very well, and I can see it from a million miles away. And that action is a short-term action. It's a short-term strategy. It gets you short-term results. And so I'm not saying that every play you make in your business needs to be long-term, but if we don't have long-term plays, we are missing the boat. And so because I invest in one-on-one high ticket, because I invest in long-term relationships with my clients, this is a long-term gain, right? I have a large number of clients that will not pay me anymore once I run. All of them will pay me the same amount, right? All of my clients that I have right now will not go into the, and they've all gotten a notice, by the way, everybody's gotten a notice, but just in case you're listening, clients, your rates don't change, my friends, you're still locked in for as long as we have a contract, right? If you leave and come back, then you would come back in under the revenue share. But so also to say, this is not going to be a massively huge injection of cash in my business in month 1 or 2 or 3, right? Most clients take at least a few months to start really generating more money, if not longer, depending on what's going on in their business. And so this is a long-term play. And I just feel like if you hear nothing else today, this is how I want you to be thinking about your business. And looking ahead, right? Just like if you're saving for retirement, that's not a like, let me just quickly day trade and make a little money and then pay off my trip for it. That's not saving for retirement, right? What are you doing here, right? And so this is a long-term play. This is a long-term strategy. This will over time mean that my revenue outpaces my sort of time and energy input, but it is not a fast track. So if this, I do want to talk about like who this isn't for. This isn't for people who want a short-term win. This is not that. This is not that. Unless you have 0 clients, then maybe that would be like, it's an interesting model. I also think there's a lot of mindset stress around that. If you haven't already proven to your clients or to yourself that you have a service that gives the results that you're asking for. Why this model fits my business perfectly and why it may or may not be great for you. I'll give you my quick list of who it's not right for. Details of the model, we talked about that. Oh, and the mindset agreement, the agreement that I made with myself. So one other thing about how you can think about this So the trust recession, thinking about it that way. Number two, what is your long-term thinking? Are you thinking strategically? That's one of the number one things I help my clients with is how do I just get better at thinking strategically and acting strategically in my business versus, I don't know, I think I'm just going to do this, right? Sometimes that intuitive hit is good. And also we need to be thinking long-term so that we don't wear ourselves out. And then the other piece here is this model is for me is such a great example of what I'm always looking to strike with my clients and help them to create, which is you can be strategic in your business and it can feel aligned and really good. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And I think sometimes we've been sold like, well, I have to do this strategy, right? Like I was told I need to scale myself out of one-on-one and offer up a group program so that I can scale. Otherwise, one-on-one isn't scalable, right? Like that's what I was told, that I could either have the fulfilling work that I want or I could make money. No, 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 no. We can have both. Right. And this model is a really great example of that. For me, again, I'm not saying that this model is for everyone, but for me, this was a really great example of that. And I want you to see that in real time, in real life, and how that works. Okay, who this is not for. I made myself a little list. So I'm going to do who this is not for really quickly, and then I'll talk to you about the mindset, and then we will wrap up. So if you're not helping clients make money, I think this is a little hard. This is a little hard. It's not as a direct fit. I've seen a couple people do it, but I think it's just something to think about. Like, how can you tell that story that this is what you're helping them do? It's very hard to do. I also think it's not necessarily for a group model. So if you're having a group program, again, unless you have a way that you can, you would need to really think about how you can structure that. Here's where the mindset comes in. This is not the model for you if you need a client right now. Because how are you going to coach or provide your service to your client if you need them to make more money so that you can make more money? That's just setting you up for some ethical issues. And so I mean that literally and emotionally, right? Like if you have enough clients, but like emotionally, you're like, I need a client. This is not for you right now. You need to work on your mindset. And it's also not for you if you really, really, really need exact forecasting, because outside of the base rate, I then have to make some real educated guesses around what I think my clients are going to make to be able to forecast what I think I'm going to be making in a given year. And so it's very variable, and it's going to ride and fall with the market. It's going to ride and fall with the excess that I get paid, right? The revenue share. It's not, I can't predict how much money my clients are going to make, and therefore I can't exactly predict how much money I'm going to make. And so if that is very, very important to you, this may not be the model for you, right? And so this leads me into the mindset piece. So the agreement that I made, two things. One, when I looked at this model, I made an agreement with myself about the way that I'm going to manage my finances going forward within this model. And that is that the revenue share is excess. It is extra. It is bonus structure. It is icing on the cake. I have built my business so that my base rate covers me for what I, quote, need to make to cover my time, to be able to pay my team, so that I know I can pay my taxes, so that none of my stable expenses and things that I need as a regular person to live and to grow my business, that I can keep reinvesting back into the business, pay for my business coach, I want to update my website. Like I need to be able to pay for those things, right? So the base rate is going to be how I plan and manage my finances. And then the 10% is going to be excess that I will plan as I have it, as opposed to planning in advance. And that's the agreement that I made with myself. And so the mindset that I'm adopting around that is truly that this is overflow. This is overflow, right? So how I show up daily to my clients every week, every month, every day is no different, right? I am showing up for the base rate. I am showing up for the thing. I'm doing the thing. I'm continuing to mentally leave my shit at the door. If you're not a coach or a therapist, you might not have heard that term, but like we must leave our shit at the door. I can't need you to make more money. I need to serve you and help you run your business in a way that serves you and what your business needs right now. And I don't want to be going, oh gosh, can I pay my bills if this person doesn't sign one more client? No, right? So that's also how I'm managing this is all of my clients that pay me the base rate. That is how I'm managing my finances. And then the mindset piece is the rest of the, and then there's like a line in my brain and in my finances, and everything else is overflow. So that this is truly just how I scale, how I create overflow, how I have fun money, how I have investment money, how I have extra, as opposed to my basic daily, weekly, monthly needs. And so I'm looking at that from a very practical perspective, as well as the mindset behind it. And I also want to say I have been working on leaving my shit at the door for 10 years, well, really 30 years if you count my consulting career, but really, really, really deeply for 8 years now in business. And so this doesn't feel like a hard stretch to leave my shit at the door at another level with the revenue share. And I just think that's really important to say. So if you're considering something like this, that is probably the biggest consideration, because if your shit gets involved in the revenue share piece, it will not be clean. It will not feel clean to you. It will not feel clean to your clients. And it's just sort of deteriorates the relationship. And the whole point of this is, as Lacey Sites calls it, this is the partnership model. The whole point of this is to be in partnership. And for me to continue to hold wear my hat as a coach. So I think we've covered everything and more. If you have questions and you're watching the replay and you want to know something, please, I am an open book. I'm happy to share. I almost did this last year and I decided not to. I could have done a whole live stream on that. So if you have questions about this, but again, mostly I'm not trying to sell you on this model. I'm only trying to sell you on this model for myself. No, I'm only trying to explain to you how great this is for me as a way of helping you think about your business, as a way of helping you think long-term, as a way of helping you think about the trust recession and how all the different ways that you can build trust into your business. This is really about strategic thinking. It's not about pricing. And finally, if you're looking for a coach, if you're liking what I'm having to say, if you've been in my world for a while, I am meeting with potential clients this month to talk about working together. I do have 2 spots left at the old rate. So you would not actually engage in revenue share, even though I just like tried to convince you how great it is, right? But I do have 2 more spots, and that would lock you in for as long as we work together. And I'm so happy, honestly, to do that. I was locked in at a flat rate for many years. I left and came back, and I went into the revenue share model. So I've literally, as a client, experienced both models, and I love them all. And I'm offering this because I want to. So if you would like one of those last 2 spots, you can start in March, April, or May. Those are my start dates, but you would need to commit sooner rather than later. Get the signing done so that you're locked in, so that you get one of those last 2 spots. I would love to help you. For me, business is not just about business growth, even though I'm also talking about adding the revenue share model. It really is about how you grow as a person as well. And I just think that the entrepreneurship journey is epically filled with mindset and personal growth opportunities while we grow our business. And that's really the approach that I take. I coach the whole human. So if that's interesting to you, I'll put a link in the comments, and I'd love to talk to you about working together. And I'm going to stay for just one more second in case you have any other questions, and then I will wrap us up for the day. And the link, if you're watching the replay, the link to a coaching consultation, to a discovery call, is also in the email. So you'll have access to that as well, or just hit reply. Let me know you want to. Also, the other thing I want to say, oftentimes people will, before they book a call, they'll hit reply and just ask a question. If you have a question about working together, all my rates, I've just told you, but everything is on my website, but I'm happy to answer a question. I feel like sometimes people are hesitant to book a call because they just have one question. I do require a call. I want to know that I will not make you an offer if I don't think we're a good fit. So I do actually require a call to work together. It's a long-term relationship. That feels important to me, that we both pick each other. And you can also just ask me a question before you book a call. So, all right, friends, I'm going to wrap us up. Thank you for being here. In 2 weeks, we're talking more about scaling. So join me for that, scaling and sales. So join me for that, and I'll see you soon.